Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bhakti Fundamentals. Today, we're going to answer a very important question, and that is, if I practice Bhakti Yoga, where will I go after this lifetime, after I leave my present body? In other words, what is the ultimate destination of someone who practices Bhakti? Many people are drawn to spiritual practice because they hope it will reduce their stress and bring them peace of mind. And genuine Bhakti Yoga certainly has those side effects. But according to the Bhagavad-gītā, those are only secondary benefits of practicing Bhakti Yoga. The ultimate benefit of practicing Bhakti is far, far greater. The 9 processes of Bhakti, especially the daily chanting of the Hare Kṛṣṇa Maha Mantra, gradually awaken our dormant love for the Supreme, or Kṛṣṇa. And when that love is fully awakened, Kṛṣṇa fulfills the promise he makes in the Bhagavad-gītā to bring his devotee, his bhakta, to his eternal spiritual abode. In that spiritual abode, there is no birth, no death, no old age, and no disease, indeed, no material suffering of any kind. And that spiritual destination is our real home. Why? Because we are actually spiritual beings, not material beings. In the Gita, Kṛṣṇa explains that our real identity lies beyond our temporary material body and mind. He teaches that we are the jiva, the eternal, individual spirit soul residing within our body. Although our body and mind continually change, we, the soul within our body, remain the same. As Kṛṣṇa explains in the 2nd chapter of the Gita, our material body changes from childhood to youth to old age, yet throughout all those changes, we, the soul, the actual person or self within our body, remain the same. Our body changes, but we do not. Death is simply the final change for our bodies. At the time of death, our material body comes to an end, but we, the soul or jiva within, do not. We simply leave our current body and accept another. Now, this naturally leads to another question. What determines what body we receive next? The Gita explains that our next destination is determined by our karma, or the actions we perform, and by the consciousness that we cultivate throughout our lifetime. Kṛṣṇa says in chapter 8, verse 6, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Now, our mind naturally thinks of whatever we have conditioned or trained it to think of. Therefore, the consciousness we develop throughout our life ends up being the consciousness we have at the time of death for our body, and that consciousness carries us to our next destination. Broadly speaking, after leaving our current body, each one of us will head to either a material destination or a spiritual one. A material destination means remaining within the material world by accepting another material body in one of the planets and universes in the material world. A spiritual destination means heading to the spiritual world, where we live eternally with Kṛṣṇa and experience unending spiritual bliss as a result of acting on our eternal relationship with the Supreme, what we're all meant to be doing anyway. Now, the Vedic scriptures explain that there are many different material destinations, according to our karma, the activities we perform, and the desires that we cultivate in this lifetime. We may receive a birth in the body of a human, animal, plant, or even a lower species of life. We might take a birth on one of the lower planetary systems, or even on one of the higher heavenly planets. In other words, material nature awards each of us a body according to our desires and karma. And the body we receive is perfectly suited both to fulfill our material desires and to experience the results of our previous activities. Now, the higher or heavenly material planets, sometimes just called heaven, deserve special mention because they are often misunderstood. They are not part of the spiritual world. Rather, they are part of the material world. The Srimad Bhagavatam and other Vedic scriptures describe them as places of extraordinary beauty, happiness, and long lifespan for the residents of them. Yet even these heavenly planets are temporary, and more importantly, they are not the spiritual abode where Kṛṣṇa resides. Performing pious activities gets us to the higher heavenly planets in the material world, but when the results of our pious activities are exhausted, we must again return to the lower material planets and receive the results of our karma in those lower destinations. So, attaining higher destinations, even within the material world, does not enable us to exit the cycle of samsara, the cycle of birth and death in this material world. For this reason, Kṛṣṇa tells us in the Gita that every destination within the material world shares one thing in common: they are temporary. In chapter 8, verse 16, he says, "From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains my abode never takes birth again." Now, this verse does not mean that there is no happiness in the material world. There certainly is. But material happiness has an end, because everything material is temporary. Whether we live on the earth planet or in the higher heavenly planets of this material world, we still are going to experience birth, disease, old age, and death for our material bodies. Now, the spiritual destination that we referred to earlier is altogether different. Beyond the material world, beyond even the higher heavenly planets, lies Kṛṣṇa's eternal abode. In that spiritual abode, there is no birth, no death, no old age, and no disease, because everything there is eternal and blissful. Kṛṣṇa describes his abode in the Gita, chapter 15, verse 6, wherein he states, "That supreme abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world." Similarly, in chapter 8, verse 15, Kṛṣṇa says, "After attaining me, the great souls, who are yogis in devotion, Bhakti yogis, never return to this material world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection." And this spiritual world is the unique destination of those who practice Bhakti Yoga. The practices of bhakti are so powerful that they carry us beyond the temporary material world to Kṛṣṇa's eternal spiritual abode. So, where does bhakti take us after this lifetime? It takes us back to our real home, to Kṛṣṇa's eternal spiritual abode. By practicing Bhakti Yoga, we gradually awaken our forgotten love for the Supreme. And when that love is fully revived, Kṛṣṇa fulfills the promise he makes to us in the Gita, chapter 4, verse 9, wherein he states, "One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode." At the conclusion of the Gita, Kṛṣṇa gives his final instruction. In chapter 18, verse 66, he says, "Abandon all varieties of dharma and simply surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear." Throughout the Gita, Kṛṣṇa repeatedly asks us to think of him, become his devotee, worship him, and surrender to him. Bhakti Yoga is the practical process for doing just that. 500 years ago, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the golden avatar of Kṛṣṇa, appeared to teach the most effective process of Bhakti Yoga for the present age, known in the Vedic scriptures as Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is the age in which we now live. It is characterized by anxiety, distraction, conflict, hypocrisy, and a declining memory and spiritual understanding. People are busier and seemingly more connected than ever, at least on social media. Yet they often feel more disconnected, dissatisfied, and spiritually confused. Knowing the challenges of this age, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught that the simplest and most powerful way to awaken our dormant love for Kṛṣṇa is by chanting Kṛṣṇa's holy names in the form of the Maha Mantra, or the great mantra for deliverance, and that is Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, why is chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra so powerful? The Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition of Bhakti Yoga explains that Kṛṣṇa, as the Supreme, is absolute. Because he is absolute, there is no difference between Kṛṣṇa and his holy name. Therefore, whenever we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we are directly associating with Kṛṣṇa, with the Supreme himself. Just as a dusty mirror becomes bright when it is carefully cleansed, our consciousness becomes purified through the chanting of the holy names of Kṛṣṇa. As our consciousness becomes purified, our attraction to temporary material pursuits gradually fades, and our dormant love for Kṛṣṇa begins to awaken. In other words, our material consciousness is replaced with spiritual consciousness when we chant. And this is the real purpose of Bhakti Yoga. The practice of bhakti is not simply to make this life a little better, although it does that as well. Its real purpose, though, is to revive our eternal relationship with Kṛṣṇa, so that at the end of this life or current body, we can return home to Kṛṣṇa. So that's all we have for today on the topic of where our Bhakti Yoga practice leads us after our current lifetime is over. Please let us know if you have any questions on the topic that we might answer in a follow-up session. In the meantime, thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time on Bhakti Fundamentals.